a higher up in my college to support me, and I finally got those at the 11th hour, but I had decided if I didn't get them, I wasn't going to let it stop me. I was going to apply anyway because I felt like I had a skill set that I could bring to the table, and I was beginning to be a known entity, and I was not going to let that stop. So, you know, whatever your terminal degree is, whatever your title is, don't be bound by that ever, and don't think that you can't be something greater or something different or learn something new, because that's just flat out false. So you have to just believe that, you know, you are who you are and you can be who you want to be, and you for sure do not need to be typecast. The comment was made about Moy University. So that experience, IU said, you know, we partner so well providing care with pharmacists in Indiana. Why can't we do this in Kenya? So 4 of us packed our bags and went for 17 days to Eldoret, Kenya, to try to figure out if we could do anything over there. And the amazing thing was, we were there for about a day. They told us when we got there, you'll either like it or hate it, and if you hate it, it's okay. And so we were I knew at the end of the first day, because you can just tell, you know, you're afraid to make eye contact with your peers from here because you knew that you liked it, and you were afraid if they liked it, that all of you would like it, and then what do we do? So it took us about 2 days to admit to each other, yeah, we all like it, and then it became, what do you do? So I was a department head. I had no faculty positions, no money, and no way to find it or make it happen. And if you fast forward to 2019, we have 2 full-time faculty members that live in Kenya and train our students and practice there. We've created a cohort of clinical pharmacists there, a total job classification that never existed. We work with your colleagues in the College of Engineering and other colleagues there. And it's just been an amazing opportunity. And I think it just showed me that, first of all, I had to go there because I was supposed to be there. And then I had to get creative and figure out how to make it happen. And it's one of the things that I'm most proud of, because with no resources and no possibility, a wonderful thing happened. You know, and we just had to get creative to figure out how to make that happen. So I'm incredibly proud of that. I'll just comment briefly on the Office of Engagement. I had this opportunity. This is another actually somewhat comical story in retrospect. I was spoken to about then the person who would be my boss, and said, hey, would you be interested in this job? And I said, no, but thanks for coming. And, and then they said, why? And I said, I just am happy, you know, in faculty affairs. And then I started thinking, my whole life has been built on connections, relationships. And I was told in this job, you don't have to know anything. You just have to know how to connect the right people together. And as odd as that's going to sound, like, I do know a little something, but it is really true. You know, I don't have to be an expert in all this stuff. I just have to know how to get the 2 people who are the experts to come together. So I said, I decided in 24 hours, okay, I guess I am interested in this job. Okay, well, then you need to apply online. Okay. And then they decided, you know, we're going to make it a national search. And so at that point in time, it's like, all right, game on. And thankfully, it all worked out okay, and I actually emerged from that because it's been a wonderful job for me. And there was an opportunity to apply to be a dean. We have a new dean in pharmacy that's been there for a couple of years, and you know, my phone rang off the hook, and I said, you know, the real difficult thing for me is that I can't just go back to one discipline, because I care about education, and I care about agriculture, and I care about engineering, and I love to hear what the faculty are doing, and I can't imagine being in a job where all I worry about is just pharmacy and pharmacy standards, because there's this amazing world at Purdue, and I can't be that person. So it's been really fun. And then the last thing, the little penguin up there, that for me is a leadership journey that I couldn't have ever expected that I would be on. I went to the Envision Center. Have you guys been over there? Do you know the Envision Center for Data Perceptualization? They do a lot of imaging and things. They do a lot of virtual reality stuff. It's over if you're in the Union by Starbucks and you kind of go down the ramp into Stewart Center, it's right there. And you should go there sometime if you want to, especially if you like data and virtual reality stuff. So I went there, and I was hosting somebody who was a guest on campus. So long story short, they're taking us on this virtual tour of the campus, and I said, hey, how do you do a project here? And they said, why? And I said, well, I have an idea. And they said, well, what's your idea? And I said, well, we need a virtual clean room. So a clean room is a sterile environment where we, pharmacy professionals, prepare products, injectable products. And we don't have a clean room in the College of Pharmacy at Purdue. And I thought, this is perfect. You know, we can create this clean room and we can teach our students, and the regulations change, and whenever the regulations change, you have to rebuild your clean room, and the minimum cost to build one is $1 million, and nobody has that. So it just made sense to me. So that all happened, and in 2016, Penguin Innovations was formed. That's my company. So we actually market an online version of a clean room that is being used in several US locations, training pharmacy students and pharmacy technicians. And actually, we have an agreement with a company that's promoting us in Canada, and we're also being looked at for possible use in the United Arab Emirates. So it's been a true labor of love, because then you have to figure out how to be the CEO of a company and how to run a company and all the stuff that's associated with that. And that's a world I never thought that I would be in, but I tell people I had a good idea. Well, like one day, I had one good idea, and it all worked out pretty well. So it was very fun. So find your passion. You know, that's my big message here. I don't know what it is. My passion has changed over time. I think that's totally fine. And I think you always need to step back and listen to yourself, and listen to what your gut says, and listen to what your head says, and make a choice. And then just really quickly, you can't have, I don't think, passion and success in your life without paying attention to those that are important to you. So this just happens to be my wife of 40 plus years, Jill. We are blessed with 3 kids. This is my daughter Jennifer with her 3 kids, Riley, Slade, and Trace. This is my daughter Stephanie and her husband Paul with their 3 kids, Ava, Declan, and Emery. They are a huge, huge part of my life. And the reason that they're in this slide set is because I think life balance is critically important, and I hope that you all don't ever forget this. And that's my son Greg, who is hanging out with his nieces and nephews, and so far he doesn't have a life partner, but the fish was a good beginning there. And my last, this is I have a little cottage in Michigan, and I hope each one of you has your special place, wherever that place is, that you can go and that you can be yourself and that you can relax and that you can enjoy and take advantage of. And with that, I'll just say, what else do you want to know that you didn't hear? Yes?
So when you had your idea for the virtual clean room, for them to make it, why did you decide to turn that into a business rather than just have them make it and go, oh, cool, now we have this for Purdue? Why did you take it into your own venture?
You know, it's because first part of it was because we thought that it had applicability across a lot of other settings. There are some, but not very many, colleges of pharmacy that actually have a clean room. And even the ones that do, it's not a truly functional. There's a certification process that you have to go through, and it's not truly functional. So I just felt like the need was there. The other reason, there's 2 more reasons really. One is it's really expensive to actually, if you're really making the real drug products, it's really expensive. So we have 76 products in the clean room. If you got best price and a student made 1 dose of all 76 of those products, the cost per student would be over $18,000. They can go in a virtual clean room and they can make 50 of them, and it's essentially free, except for the subscription cost. So one was availability, and one was the cost. And then the last thing is, even when you do manipulate product as a pharmacy student, you probably don't make, Anthony, you can probably tell me, you probably don't make more than 3 to 5 in any given class. That's it. But there's hundreds and hundreds of these products, and so I think that it's something that people need to know, and that was why I felt like I could contribute to the greater good. Yes.
You talked about the program that you developed in Kenya, and how you didn't know how you were going to make it happen. How did you end up making it happen?
So that's a great question. How did we make Kenya happen? In the beginning, we had to rely on ourselves, and so we looked internally. One of the 4 of us, well, they're not going to, well, this is actually kind of funny. They theoretically wouldn't send me because I wasn't supposed to know anything, because I'm not some young clinician, except that they don't have a lot of of the newer agents that we have to treat patients that we have. So I actually was pretty good when I was in Kenya. So they sort of made fun of me, but I because of my responsibilities, I had to be the one to stay home. But one of the individuals was single and interested in being entrepreneurial. And so we said, okay, if we can cover for you, she was in a space that we could afford to take her out of. And we just said, if we can cover for you, would you be willing to go there and spend an amount of time? And so she committed for about 6 to 9 months. Then she came back home. We had another faculty member go over for about 3 months. He came home. We had another 3-month person. And by then, we had an opening come in the department, and we decided that we would dedicate that opening to Kenya. And that's how it happened. So it really was people that also were willing to take a risk. And we had some incredibly generous folks to help us. I mean, we had nothing. We could stay at IU, that helped, but we needed a car. We had honestly just picked up the phone for a pharmacy donor that we knew could buy a car. And said, will you buy us a car? And he said, sure. So a lot of luck, a lot of luck. Yes?
You talked at the end about not wanting to go back to a discipline, being committed to one discipline, which I appreciate. I think it is important for interdisciplinary collaborations to occur. I wonder, from your perspective and your leadership perspective, what are the characteristics that make those collaborations successful?
Well, I think for me, we have a common goal. So when I work with faculty members, no matter who they are, I mean, you have a professor sitting in the back corner of this room who's like an icon in this space. So I want faculty members that are engaged faculty members to be recognized for that. So it doesn't make any difference if they're working with schools through education or if they're working with businesses through the College of Engineering or wherever, but to get that recognition. So if we have a common goal that says if you're doing the work, then there needs to be recognition for it, that helps. I also think that, and this is one thing that actually is really a true blessing to be a pharmacist, or for that matter, any healthcare professional in a contemporary setting, that we had to learn to work across disciplines. We couldn't have survived just by ourselves, nor should we have in the care setting. So there, you have to be open and respect the skills that other people bring to the table, which isn't so easy for everybody. I can tell you that the first time that I was told that I had to talk to an industrial engineer, I thought, why would I talk to an industrial engineer? And now, if I was to go back and do this all over again, I'm pretty positive I would be an industrial engineer, because they are the smartest people and they're just logical. And pharmacists, most of us aren't logical, so they're like, why do you do that? Well, because we always have. Yeah, well, it's wrong. Okay, so, a lot of respect for other folks. I hope some of you guys are going to be industrial engineers, because they're crazy, crazy good. Other questions? Okay.
So you talked several times about times whenever you had like an opportunity and you were enthusiastic, and once you got into that opportunity, like in the beginning you felt over your head, or like, you would kind of put yourself out there.
Yeah.
I think we all find ourselves in those positions a lot. How did you sort of deal with those situations and build confidence in an area where you were maybe underprepared?
Well, I would say the first thing I guess I should say is I didn't necessarily take every opportunity that came, but I did look at every opportunity that presented itself as a possibility. So I think you guys need to realize it's okay to not say yes, but if you're going to get into something, you need to figure out, okay, a little bit like, it's a lot like engagement, what's in it for me and what's in it for the other person. And I tried in many instances, and this would be the same in practice as it has been here at Purdue, in many cases we would do a pilot. So if we thought something sounded good, but we were afraid to go here first, we would start small, and in some instances we failed and just had to agree. But I'm sure you've heard this from other people, but if you've been talking to a bunch of leaders who have never failed, then I have a hard time imagining that that's really true. So not being fearful of failure, and biting off little chunks at a time, I guess, is the best way to answer that. Anybody else? Okay, well, thank you so much for letting me come. I do have to put in one more pitch Dr. Oaks already mentioned this, but I have to do one more pitch for the service learning grants. So if you don't know what these are, individuals can make grant requests through our office, the Office of Engagement, for funding support for community projects. So what do you have to have? You have to have a community partner, and you have to have somebody, a faculty or staff member that you're working with here. So there's two really amazing examples. And if you apply as an individual, it's a 250-word little abstract that you send in describing your project, and then a budget. One person can get up to $500 for their project, but if you work in groups, which we strongly encourage, you can get up to $1,500. And it's also, like if you're looking at a big project, you can break it down into little chunks, especially for EPICS. You know, some of your projects are really big. And so if you divide them up and do like 3 little projects and a bigger project, it helps you financially. And it also probably just makes it a little bit easier, I would say, from the granting process. But one of my goals was to get more money out of the provost, because our line budget is $130,000 a year. And when I came into the office 6 years ago, we were spending about $90,000 a year. And I said, oh my gosh, we've got $40,000 every year that the students aren't using. That's terrible that the students aren't using this. So we actually were able to get a commitment of an additional $30,000 for 2 years from the provost. So that takes us up to $160,000. Last year I spent $175,000 on your stuff, and we're going to get it to $200,000. And so my last comment that I would make is, if you guys pay attention to either the Exponent maybe or Purdue Today, we have these call-outs. It looks like we have a spring and a fall call-out, but really these grants are always available, because sometimes opportunity happens for you and it doesn't necessarily always cycle with something. So it doesn't matter when it is. It can be the middle of July. If you come up with a project and you've got a community partner and you've got somebody at Purdue you can work with, just send it in. What I would do, though, is I would suggest that either Lisa Duncan in my office or me, if you send something in that's not part of the routine submission, just send us an email that says, hey, I sent this in and I need you to act on it by a certain amount of time. That's totally fine with us. And these are available for both undergraduate and graduate students. So please, I'm going to get the provost to give me $200,000. So please keep those going. It's amazing, great work. Thank you so much. Yeah, I know. Thank you.